Police Reform and Social Responsibility Bill, second reading.
Honourable friend for raising that particular issue. Yes, I mean the Prime Minister has made clear in PMQs in this House, and I've made clear separately that we do need to ensure that we can clear Parliament Square for the royal wedding when it takes place on the 29th of April. Finally, Mr Deputy Speaker, I just wanted to mention the other aspect of the bill, which is the bill addresses this other important area of law which we think isn't currently working, and that's the whole issue of how we apply universal jurisdiction, which of course is a key principle of international justice, which enables some of the gravest offences to be prosecuted here regardless of the state in which the offences were committed. But it's clear...
The Home Secretary. But would she accept that already there are adequate safeguards? It's not a question of someone simply going to the magistrate's court alleging that a war criminal is on British soil. And there is a feeling, she obviously doesn't seem to share it, that this law is being changed as a result of pressure from Israel, the pressure that Israel put on the previous government and clearly on this government. And it does seem unfortunate that we're going to change the law because a foreign country has put such pressure on us.
We're not changing the law because a foreign country has put pressure on us. It is the case that in relation to this law, the evidential requirement that is needed in order for somebody to go and get an arrest warrant is significantly less than that's required for a successful prosecution. And what we're saying is that it should be the case that the Director of Public Prosecution should be able to look and give consent or otherwise to any such application that is made. And it is... I will give way once more.
May I just say that the measures on universal jurisdiction are one of the more important parts of this bill, because what we've seen before has made Britain a laughingstock in a place of sort of fishing and trawling for international justice of matters which are better dealt elsewhere.
Thank my honourable friend for the point that is made. It is certainly clear that the current process for applying for an arrest warrant has deterred some public figures from overseas from coming to the UK. I think the bill will make the process fairer and safer by requiring the consent of the Director of Public Prosecutions before a warrant could be issued. I'm just about to come to the end of the speech, but I will give way to the right honourable lady.
Grateful to the Home Secretary. Can I ask her, what test will the DPP be expected to apply before an arrest warrant is granted under this new proposal, which the present district judge does not apply? What is the difference between them?
The key issue that the Director of Public Prosecution will be looking at is the basis for the request for the arrest warrant and the extent to which there is a true basis for bringing that forward. And he will be looking at the prospects of a successful prosecution and balancing that issue in the view. Because at the moment, as I say, the threshold requirement that is there is significantly less than would normally be required in relation to bringing a successful prosecution. I'm not going to take any more interventions because I'm actually about to finish my speech, and I'm sure that the honourable gentleman will be able to make a contribution in the debate later. I'm very conscious there are lots of backbenchers who do wish to get in. And as I've said, I'm just about to finish my speech because, Mr Deputy Speaker, this bill is focused on cutting crime and putting power back where it belongs, in the hands of local people. Directly elected and directly accountable police and crime commissioners will bring reform to the police, ensuring they cut crime, focus on local priorities and drive up performance. The problems of 24-hour drinking will be tackled by giving our communities greater powers over licensing decisions, and the emerging problems of legal highs will be dealt with through temporary banning orders. At the international level, our relationships with our overseas partners will be strengthened by the introduction of this key safeguard in the application process for universal jurisdiction arrest warrants, and at home, our democracy will be strengthened by the restoration of the right to peaceful protest outside Parliament, at the same time as we take targeted action to deal with the long-term encampments and loud hailers which cause so much disruption and distress. Mr Deputy Speaker, this bill is necessary, it is proportionate, it is right, and I commend the bill to the House.
Could I just come to some of the wider issues in the bill, which only do cover a third of the clauses, and where our intention will be, where possible, to seek a consensus on the way forward. The bill contains a number of new changes to the licensing regime and powers for councils which build upon and do not reverse the licensing reforms of the past decade. Clearly, if this bill passes second reading today, there will be a need in committee to examine those proposals in detail, but we will support extra powers for local communities and the police to keep public order and ensure people are able to enjoy a night out in a safe and secure way. On drugs, we also will look in detail, but cautiously at this point welcome the temporary banning orders which are being proposed by the Home Secretary, although I have to say the suggestion in the bill of a move away from evidence-based policy making on drugs in the changes to the role of the Advisory Committee is something which causes some concern, and we'll need to look closely at that issue. As we heard from the former Home Secretary, the member for Sheffield Brightside, in reforming the 2005 Act, the devil is in the detail, and we will look closely at the detail of what is proposed in committee. And on universal jurisdiction, while we'll again probe the detail of the clauses in committee, I can say both that the opposition believes strongly in the importance of universal jurisdiction and that we will support the proposed changes to make it work more effectively. In each of these areas, in committee, we will seek to achieve a consensus. But as I said, these measures add up to less than a third of the clauses in the bill. And on the policing issues, it's been very hard to be the Shadow Opposition Secretary on this matter. I'll take an intervention from there first.
Sir Gerald Kaufman.
Mr Deputy Speaker, what my right honourable friend the member for Morley and Outwood has said about the attacks on the strength of the police and cuts in police budgets particularly affects us in Greater Manchester, where we have an absolutely excellent local police service which will be severely damaged by what the government is proposing. I, however, wish this afternoon to concentrate on Clause 151 of the bill, which has been smuggled into the bill to fulfil a Conservative election pledge made in a full-page advertisement in the Jewish Chronicle during the general election, namely the change in the administration of universal jurisdiction in this country. There is no need whatever to change the law. To obtain an arrest warrant for a suspected war criminal, it's essential and necessary to surmount a very high hurdle indeed, and that high hurdle is rarely surmounted. Such applications are made rarely, and they're granted even more rarely. This change in the law would never have come about if it were not for the case of Tzipi Livni, the war criminal daughter of a terrorist father, who was scared off coming to this country because of the danger of an arrest warrant being issued for her. Tzipi Livni was jointly responsible for the slaughter in Gaza in Operation Cast Lead, in which 1,400 people were killed, including 300 children, in a war in which 14 Israelis were killed, some by friendly fire. It's bizarre that a major change in our criminal justice system is being made at the demand of one of the most discredited regimes in the world.
Will the honourable member give way?
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful to the honourable member for that. But he specifically identifies Tzipi Livni, and he says about such accusations which have been levelled against her. But I'm sure he will agree, as Foreign Minister, Livni would not have had either direct or ultimate command responsibility for any of the atrocities that he alleges. Will he now concede that that is incorrect, what he has just told the House?
Of course not, I won't. Tzipi Livni is a war criminal, and what's more, she issued a vocal and extreme statement supporting the attack on the Gaza flotilla. She is not a person who is wanted in this country, and without this change in the law, she would not dare to come to this country. The Israeli administration, as I say, is one of the most discredited regimes in the world. It has persisted in committing war crimes right through to the lethal attack on the Gaza flotilla. I'll give way to the honourable gentleman in a moment. On May the 31st. It's a country which breaches international law and the Geneva
Order! Order! Please. Honourable gentlemen should know better. From a sanitary position, I don't want a debate going on across the chamber. If people intervene, do so in the correct manner. Sir Gerald Kaufman.
The fact is that Israel breaches international law and the Geneva Convention every single day. It has just snubbed the President of the United States by refusing to halt the illegal building of settlements, which itself is a contravention of international law. I'll give way to the honourable gentleman.
I thank the honourable gentleman for giving way, but I have to say, I thank the honourable gentleman for giving way, but I have to say his hatred for Israel knows no bounds. From what the honourable gentleman is saying, explains exactly why this universal jurisdiction needs to be changed, because it is being used by a political football with people like the honourable gentleman who have hidden agendas.
There would have been no proposal to change this law if Tzipi Livni had not been scared away from coming to this country after committing appalling war crimes against the people of Gaza. It's as simple and as plain as that. Now, I will go on for a moment now, if I may. As I say, the Israelis have just snubbed the President of the United States by refusing to halt the illegal building of settlements. And the Israeli regime uses its powers of arrest without charge arbitrarily. One member of the Israeli Knesset has been scared away, well, two actually, because the Deputy Prime Minister was scared away as well, was scared away because of this law. 30 members of the Palestine National Council are currently held by the Israelis without any charge, not a threat of arrest, but an actual arrest. Last month, when I was in Jerusalem, I visited 3 members of the Palestine National Council who are taking refuge against arbitrary arrest by the Israeli police with the International Red Cross in Jerusalem. I met and heard testimony of young Palestinian children who were assaulted by Israeli police, and they showed us their scars and their bruises as a result of the arbitrary and illegal way in which the Israeli police treat Palestinians, including Palestinian children. When we had a meeting during our visit in Amman with the Foreign Minister of Jordan, he told us how he had to offer diplomatic shelter to the President of Palestine because when they were driving along in succession, the President of Palestine was continually halted at Israeli checkpoints while he, as an overseas minister, was not halted in the same way. For all of these crimes and many more, the Israelis are answerable to no one. Now, one of the few sanctions on these crimes is to be removed. Israeli politicians will, as a result of this change in the law, literally be allowed to get away with murder. And this is coming, Mr. Deputy Speaker, at a time when the ground is shifting. As I say, this pledge was made in this full-page advertisement in the Jewish Chronicle in order to get Jewish votes in the recent general election. But there is an upheaval taking place now in the Jewish community, as a result of which the across-the-board support for anything an Israeli government does is no longer available.
Well, my right honourable friend...
Yes, of course I'll give way.
I'm very grateful that my right honourable friend referred to the general election and what comments people made in that. Does he recall what position every single Liberal Democrat MP took before the general election and during the general election on this matter?